what's going on with these king salmon? And it seems like one of the most predominant comments that I got that came out of everything from this was that the problem is starting out in the ocean where the ocean trawlers are. And I got to thinking, you know, how much information is out there about these trawlers and how are they affecting this industry? And one of the biggest things that came out of my research was the information about the bycatch. And the bycatch from these trawlers out in the ocean is something that's unintentional. You know, they capture different species other than what they're targeting, and they're not allowed to keep it. So they have to throw it back or they have to donate it. Either way, these fish weren't intended to be marketed, and it creates a big problem for the streams and the businesses that work around those streams in the sport fishing industry and also the commercial fishing industry. So I wanted to talk today about the trawling and the bycatch that's happening out on the ocean. You know, they start the season off with hey, you're allowed to catch this many king salmon unintentionally, and you're gonna still be allowed to fish. And I don't know if this article got past you guys, but check this out. There was a group of fishing boats down in Kodiak, and this happened just last fall. This was reported that there were 2 Kodiak-based trawlers, and they inadvertently caught 2,000 king salmon. Now think about that, 2,000 king salmon. They're out there, they're pulling their nets, and they scoop up 2,000 king salmon. They weren't targeting them. These guys are out there fishing for whitefish and pollock and other ground fish out in the area, and they use trawling because it's the most effective method commercially for them to get their quotas. They scoop up 2,000 king salmon, and what happens? The industry as a whole is only allowed to catch so many of these king salmon, and they caught them all at once, so they shut down the entire industry. Now, how is a shutdown like that going to be sustainable for anybody? I mean, even the commercial guys. These fishermen, they're out there trying to catch these fish, and they accidentally catch like this whole other school of these precious king salmon. Now, for instance, you think of the sustainable escapement goal of the Kenai River being around 4,000, 5,000 fish is how many fish they want to get into the Kenai River. When a trawler can go out there and just on a single pole scoop up an entire run's worth of fish. Now, it's a huge problem. The number of mature salmon that get to return and spawn to the rivers are cut down drastically because of this type of fishing. It's indiscriminate, and it creates issues down the line economically for everybody. So the Kenai River, the Susitna, and the Copper River systems, they're all being affected by these bycatches of these commercial trawlers. And I'm not in the trawling industry. If you're out there and you are in the trawling industry, speak up and let me know. I have done some research. I see that in order to go out and go fishing, the regulators want to have somebody on board these ships so they can count the amount of bycatch, and they record it and they report that back. You know, that's great. It reports the bycatch, but it doesn't actually stop the bycatch. So, you know, maybe there's a little bit more that can be done there, but I'm not sure. You know, the king salmon, it's a keystone species. Their decline is going to affect the entire ecosystem. When they go up a river just like this, their carcass feeds the earth. You know, the trees, the soils, the waterways, the next generation of fish, the fish that come into the river. Everything feeds off of this, and their declines mean that it's going to affect all of the ecosystem, not just the sports fishermen, not just the commercial fishermen, everything, all the way back down to the earth. So there's going to be consequences of having this type of commercial fishermen out there scooping up indiscriminately all the king salmon. Now, I'm not saying that they're scooping up every king salmon. You know, we do get runs of salmon back to these rivers, but they're still just on the decline, and you could see it in the numbers. Every single year they're just down and down and down even further, and we're going to end up with closures, just like we have on the sport fishing side. We're going to end up with closures across the industry, just like how those 2 trawlers down in Kodiak last year had a mishap, if you will. You know, they didn't mean to scoop up 2,000 salmon, but they did, and that gets taken from the entire ecosystem. And who wins there? Nobody. So I realize accidents happen, but how many of those types of accidents can you afford to have? And the regulators kind of put a number on that. You know, these guys are allowed to scoop up, I think it's 60,000 a season for the industries, and they measure the Gulf of Alaska, and then they measure the Bering Sea fisheries, and they put these quotas on how many you're allowed to accidentally catch, and it's in the tens of thousands every single season these boats are allowed to catch. And it affects everybody, and it also affects the way of life for a lot of people. The native communities here and the rural residents, the king salmon, it's more than a resource. They grew up on fishing these salmon, and the subsistence side and the traditions that are passed down from generation and generation are what's at stake here. So we really have to think about the king salmon as being an essential part of life, way beyond following the money. Because if you follow the money and you end up seeing, hey, who's got the most money to push the most regulation to even allow a quota at all of a bycatch. I've seen in these comments people want to add the king salmon to the Endangered Species Act, as if that's going to stop this from happening. You know, rules are great for people who follow the rules. Now, the Alaskan fishermen, the commercial fishermen, I've been doing this for generations, they're hounded. These commercial guys, they're getting pounded by these rules. And for them, their way of life's changing drastically too. It's the people who aren't following the rules that are making it unbearable and untenable for everybody else that's around here. So that's kind of an issue that's going on around here. I'm going to include the links of my research and these numbers that I'm getting in the description below this video, and cite where I'm pulling my information from. You know, I'm trying to get more and more information gathered up and deliver it to you guys, so you're just aware. You know, there's lots of going on, and what we see is the management side. Oh, hey, they shut down the sport fishing industry. You're not allowed to fish bait on this river coming up in a couple months. Well, guess what? That's an entire season of fishing for the guides, for the lodging, the tourists that come here, the tackle shops that are around here. Everyone's affected by these closures, and even if a small percent, you know, they're thinking the trawlers are responsible for like 1% of the decline of the population. You know, I'll take that 1% if that's what it really is. If it's only 1%, I don't know if it is or not, but it'd be nice to go ahead and stop it all before it's too late, when you can indiscriminately scoop up an entire school of fish going after, you know, pollock. You know, you want to trade your king salmon for a frozen fish stick out of your freezer aisle at your store? Or is that fake crab, you know, so good that we're going to give up generations of king salmon just to have it? You know, that's kind of sad, if you ask me. I don't personally eat store-bought fish, but I'm privileged enough to catch mine. I realize a lot of people depend on the commercial fishing industry to get their calories, and we have to find a way to make it to where these fish that are being targeted aren't accidentally scooping up populations of these riverbound fish here in Alaska. So, you know, we can only regulate so much. If people aren't going to follow the rules, regulations aren't going to matter. Is there a way to invest in alternative fishing methods? I mean, why is pulling a net along the bottom of the ocean the only way to commercially fish for these targeted fish? You know, maybe a little bit more of an investment in an alternative method could be the answer here. I don't know. You know, maybe a little bit better data collection could help out the industry, and maybe videos like this. if you think this video is actually going to help out instead of hurt, you know, I'm jumping out here just trying to speak up for something that's not widely talked about on YouTube anyway. And I'm doing this so my kids have a chance to fish, your kids will have a chance to fish, all future generations. And we're talking commercial fishing too. We're not trying to shut everybody down. We're trying to create this awareness and get some public engagement happening before it's too late. So, you know, the future depends on us here. And the king salmon are in trouble, you guys. They're in trouble. Their numbers are on the decline. The runs are getting weaker. Every year, more are taken as bycatch. Even that, and that's before they ever have a chance to spawn. These salmon only come back and spawn once, and then they die. So if you kill them before they ever spawn, it never happened, and that's why we're seeing these numbers go down. If we don't take the opportunity now to wake up and do something, these rivers aren't going to have anything left for us, and we can only target the other species of salmon so much before we're going to start seeing declines in those populations too. So as you could probably hear, I'm getting nervous about what's going on around here. I'm talking with people around town. I'm talking with business owners, lodge owners, guides. I'm talking with tourists, and I'm talking with everybody that's watching videos just like this. I like to get in the comment section. I like hearing your guys' stories from the past and what has happened, what you've seen happen throughout the years, and what you think's going to happen if we stay on this trajectory. Is there something that we can do? Speak up. Now's the time. And the fight is not just about the fish. It's about protecting the way of life for everybody. We need to ensure that the generations of Alaskans that are coming after us get to cast in, you know, the Kasilof, this beautiful river here, or the world famous Kenai River, and the Susitna, and the Deshka, and everywhere where everyone's at out there. Alaska's big, but you know, we're all interconnected with this entire fishery. So what can we do? We could speak up, you guys. We can talk about this. We can create a community, and we also can take it easy and do our part when we're out there fishing on the river. So make sure you guys check out the links I post on this. I cited a bunch of different research avenues from the internet and from locals around here. I want you guys to take the time, if you've got it, to read these articles and touch up on what trawling actually is, and just imagine how we can try and incorporate this type of fishing or a different type of fishing, get the same results so everybody can eat, but we have a future for mouths that aren't even here yet. So thank you for tuning in, guys. Have a great day. I hope to see you out on the water, and take care. God bless. Thank you.